Alright, going to do a battle report from two games from the doubles tournament I was at this weekend. I brought my Warriors of Chaos. I brought my ally brought some Dwarves. And we played a number of army combinations. He hadn't played in about 3 years, and of course I'm still pretty new to the hobby. And that led to this being, probably the least competitive team in the tournament, so that's kind of the warning right there. The little disclaimer that we don't do as well as, we would like. But it was fun. This is the start of our deployment. This is a game against Vampire Counts and Dwarves. You can see some Dwarf Thunderers there. You can see some Warriors of Chaos. You can see some Marauders, a couple more Warriors of Chaos. More or less my standard army, although less frenzied than normal. You can see there's some Frenzied Knights. You can see some Dwarf Warriors. You can see some, I believe those are Thunderers to the far right on the hill. And obviously very projectile heavy army from the Dwarves. Very close combat for me. There's my partner Tom, and the last of his army, a pair of cannons, some more warriors, I believe, and a Thane, who is our general. And that was our deployment. This is their deployment. I can't really make it out because the contrast of the light wasn't very good. You can see there's a big honking window in the background, which kind of messed up pictures on that side of the table. Still, there were some grave guards, zombie skeletons, your usual undead horde army, basically. Corpse cart. As for the dwarves, there was an organ gun. You can see some bolt throwers, which were kind of drunk this match, really, and that was pretty much his army. He didn't really have anything other than the war machines and the crews. I believe there's an engineer in there somewhere because he had to have a character, but yeah, there were some thunderers in there too, but mostly just supporting the vampires. Anyways, this is turn one. We're moving out. My knights got shot to pieces. Very disappointing. That's what happens when you're dealing with dwarves who basically can concentrate on range combat. And our turn, it didn't go so well. You can see some fell bats there moving up. You can also see some Noblars. This is a Noblar hunt. Yeah, you can see a little bit of measuring going on there. We're getting close to the vampire lines. This was, I want to say, the bottom of the second turn, I'm thinking. And this is just kind of a brief summary of what's happening. My guys are trying to get to his lines. They're pretty much sitting back, waiting for us to come, getting as much shooting in as possible because they could outshoot us. We just really had the cannons and some thunderers to do any kind of ranged combat. Just a bit of a different angle there. You can see some skellies, and there's the dwarf area. There's a grudge thrower. There's thunderers, more thunderers. The engineer I think is in there somewhere. You can see the organ gun right down there, and you can see my knight has crashed into it. The sole survivor with a banner of rage and a mark of Nurgle. And then there's the bolt throwers who were quite drunk. They couldn't hit anything, it seemed, which was just really amusing and led to a number of anti-dwarf gunner comments and drunkenness. So yeah, that was the game up to this point. Here's just more of the flank. You can see he spawned some skeletons. I charged him with my warriors. There's only two warriors left, but they would eventually hack through them because, well, they're skeletons. I don't think much more needs to be said about that. They were pretty much shutting down my magic phase, though. We were doing an okay job of shutting down there, so magic really wasn't a big implement in this game. I had a Zeech sorcerer for my magic, and that was about it. And this next image here, the dwarves gonna do a little dwarf on dwarf combat, but the bolt throwers, that was about the only time they were hitting anything, was they were pegging down the two dwarf warrior squads that were working their way towards them. One completely wiped out at this point, the other about 6 dwarves, I think, heading towards the far bolt thrower. Here you can see our position getting attacked by fellbats. We lost both cannons there. We lost a group of thunderers. The thunderers actually were not killed by the fellbats, but by the skeletons led by the vampire, which will come into play later. This was a pretty big battle. My surviving group of warriors getting flanked by the grave guard. They hacked through some zombies, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. You can see my marauders charge into the flank of the vampire, and the skellies, I believe. Was that the skellies? No, that was the grave guard, pardon me. And they killed my sorcerer there in a duel, though, with the vampire. My triumphant knight, who had ripped through a group of thunders, ripped through an organ gun, was basically the MVP of the match, but unfortunately from this point on, he gets skewered by a bolt thrower eventually. And that just ends his day. Moving on, we have this is the vampire, the enemy general. They have a dwarf banner from the Thunders. Don't take a banner with the Thunders would be probably the best advice I can give right about here. They also would kill the Thane via overrunning him with a fear-causing opponent. It's unfortunate because my army was immune to fear, but the dwarves were not. We attacked the bolt thrower. We would kill that bolt thrower, but there are three more, and that's kind of all there is to be said there. In the end, just overranged, overkilled, destroyed. The next picture we're going to get here is the fell bats, just a gratuitous shot of how nice they look. There they are. They hit my marauders in the back and just eliminated them and the warriors in that one big combat. So I had nothing left. The dwarf player had basically nothing left. The vampire army, it had lost, basically meat shields. The dwarves pretty much